A rotisserie chicken is a great, easy, and healthy option to feed your family, but it's also great because that chicken can be used to create 2 meals. Joining us now is culinary dietitian Amy Marshall. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. Now, the rotisserie chicken, you're driving home from work, you're like, what am I going to make for supper tonight? No ideas. What an easy option, right?
Yeah, it's just as easy as takeout and more nutritious. So It's very easy to stop at the grocery store and grab a rotisserie chicken on the way home from work. So what I like to, when I'm talking with clients about making a meal, is we always want to make sure we have 3 different components to make a balanced meal. Okay. So we want to have a protein, which would be our chicken, and we also want to have a carbohydrate source, especially if our kids are going to sports, you know, and after school, and a vegetable. So a couple of really quick ideas for a protein or a carbohydrate would be steaming up some rice really quickly or some pasta. But if you don't even want to cook something, and you can just grab some buns or crusty sourdough or even tortillas. Okay. So here I also just grabbed some lettuce. You could do bagged salad or even steamed vegetables that are from frozen. That's really quick as well. So I made a really quick chicken Caesar wrap. So this was involved no cooking whatsoever. So I just used the rotisserie chicken, mixed it with Caesar dressing, some red onions, and then put it in a whole wheat tortilla with some lettuce.
And kids love this because it's considered almost like a finger food as well, right?
Yeah, my kids would prefer more of like a quesadilla almost. So I might do some chicken with cheese with them and just melt it so it's nice and gooey. That's how they often
Very
prefer
nice. Okay, and then you take, or you could just eat the rotisserie chicken as is, so that's another option.
Exactly.
Or you take that chicken and you make something else with it entirely.
Yeah. So here's an idea for once your family finishes eating the chicken, you can actually repurpose that into a second meal. So while you're cleaning up in the kitchen, my grandma's rule was always, if you're cooking a chicken, you're making soup, right? We would never waste the bones and the skin. So we would take the chicken, put it in a stock pot with enough water to cover it, let it simmer on the stove for an hour. All the meat's going to come off of there, and it gives a really delicious flavor with the skin and the bones.
And then you have to take all of that out, and you just want the liquid, right?
Yeah, you use all the liquid, and then you can also pick out the meat as well. Yeah. So you can use that meat in your soup. So to add extra protein, of course, you would use whatever leftover chicken. I love using red lentils because that's a really great way to add extra protein and also fiber into your soups, and it cooks down so you don't even notice that it's in there. It really almost dissolves into the soup, and it makes a really nice, thick, rich texture and consistency of your soup.
It makes it more hearty.
More hearty, exactly, which is delicious for when it's cold outside.
Yes.
And then I also love adding rice, and it does the same thing. It really thickens up the soup to give a really delicious consistency.
And then chop some veggies.
Of course. So veggies, I always do carrots, onions, celery, and then whatever seasoning that you have. I happen to have some parsley, so I throw that in there. Whatever spices you have in the pantry.
Let's see this soup that you've whipped up. Look at that.
So there's our soup.
And then this, honestly, if for my family, this would probably be 2 meals because, you know, a bowl of soup, a nice crusty bun, like you said, it's maybe more than 1 meal, or it's leftovers for lunch for work the next day.
Yes, and this is a really great meal that you can also pop into the freezer. So you could separate it into containers and freeze it for lunches or for, you know, a meal for the future for your family.
There you go. That's 3 meals for 1 week. Thank you so much, Amy, for all these tips and this great advice.
Thanks for having me.